Hello, and welcome to another episode of Hacking with Friends. My name is Cody Kinsey. I'm a security researcher with Varonis, and today we are joined by the former co-host of Hat Talk, James. James, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Cody.
It's we got to get you working somehow ever since Hat Talk. So it's good to have you here, and I appreciate your commentary on our subject today, which is the, I guess, all new Raspberry Pi 400. So
All new.
yeah, the Raspberry Pi Foundation, I mean, isn't exactly known for like just having a ton of new things coming out all the time. Each Raspberry Pi release is kind of incremental, but comes around every so often. So seeing a new product from them is always exciting. And this is one that a lot of people have been really excited about. James is probably the most excited person I know. James hasn't been able to shut up about the Raspberry Pi 400 for weeks now. He is so psyched about it. So James, tell me, what is the buzz around this product? Why are you so excited, and why won't you shut up about this thing?
Well, it's like almost like a Pi 4, but not, and it comes inside of a keyboard.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
So basically this means when I usually have a Raspberry Pi 4 where I have a combination keyboard mouse that I plug into it and carry around with me, I now can just have a mouse and the keyboard and get rid of one of those things.
Yeah, I can talk a bit more about my opinions of what they're trying to do here if you like, but it's I don't know.
So
It's interesting.
so you have the Raspberry Pi 4 website, or at least an article on it pulled up on your screen, right?
Currently, yes.
Yeah, can we switch over and just take a look at? So if anybody is curious about the Raspberry Pi 400, there's a lot out there about it, and it's these new kits bundle a touchscreen with the computer keyboard. What? I didn't get a
Yeah,
touchscreen.
yeah. So here's the thing. So I don't have this article up, but I was reading on a BBC article that apparently the way that this is trying to be pitched by the Raspberry Pi Foundation, which I'm pretty sure is based in the UK,
Yeah.
is that it's a sort of method to bridge the digital divide so that people in the pandemic can get access to computers easier, rather than just using a normal computer. But the thing that I don't understand is in this situation, like the point of arguing it from a convenience perspective, they're like, yeah, look, you can get a tiny touchscreen display for 180 bucks, and with the personal computer kit, which comes with the Pi 400, USB mouse, and a power supply, micro SD card, and an HDMI cable. So the things that you'll actually need to use it, you're up to 280 bucks. And at that point, aren't you like cheap Chromebook pricing?
Yeah, you're getting into the territory where you absolutely need to start looking into something that's maybe a little bit more powerful if that's your budget. Like, frankly, there's a
Yeah,
lot of things you can do that are like relatively easy to run on an old computer. So you can find an old computer that has just enough processing power to do all this stuff relatively easily, and it's not a big, like an old ThinkPad or something might be more in your range of stuff than actually like investing in a Raspberry Pi 400 as a personal desktop computer with this configuration anyway. Um,
yeah, and I don't see why they're just sort of trying to pitch it like that. Because I mean, if you look at the picture that they have right here with a touchscreen and everything hooked up to it, it doesn't really look like a graceful solution. Um,
yeah, I would definitely agree with that. There's not exactly like a clear path to putting this together as a full computer. So if you want to do it, you really need to like kind of have an idea of how you're going to build it and what it's going to look like in the end, because there's lots of things you can do. Like, admittedly, like I was a little, my chief complaint is that it doesn't have a trackpad. Like, if you're going to bundle this all together, I would like to have one thing that I plug into a screen, a projector, like anything that I have available. Maybe I'll like VNC into it on my phone. Like, that would be cool. Like, so here's a use case. Like, if you have this thing in your like backpack and you want to be able to maybe take it and plug it into I don't know, like just a power source, like a battery you have, and then with your phone connect to it and be able to do everything over VNC. To me, that's a really cool like way of using this to replace like something that would be 3 different things, like a mouse, a keyboard, and a Raspberry Pi. Now I already use like a keyboard that's a combination that's like going to be like a trackpad and then a keyboard, and then it just like plugs into one of the USB ports on the Raspberry Pi. So I already have a solution that's 2 objects I have to carry around with me. So this is nice. I mean, it gives the Raspberry Pi a case, and it also like gives it, I think, a better form factor. But is it missing something critical? Yes. I feel like it's not all the way really where it should be. Oh, and I should also tell our producer that my computer is going to die, and I sent them a message about this, so they should probably scramble to find a charger in the next 2 minutes. Otherwise, we'll have to reset this whole thing. Anyway, so...
But yeah, sorry, comparing this, again, in terms of like pricing to the Pi 4, apparently the Pi 4, which is pretty similar to this in terms of like hardware specs, to my knowledge, right? Am I wrong?
Yeah, like if you've seen pictures of this, it's basically just a totally different form factor. So it looks like a Raspberry Pi. It actually looks a lot more like the Raspberry Pi like compute module, which is, and the Raspberry Pi compute module is like not really it's more designed for like industrial applications. So what it kind of looked like they did here was like take the Raspberry Pi compute module or something like it, and then put it into a form factor that works really well with a laptop, and end up with something that I would argue it is more convenient than just like a Raspberry Pi and a keyboard clacking around in your computer. And admittedly, those are the biggest things. Like if you want to have some flexibility with the keyboard or with the mouse, then I guess there are ways of doing that. I'm just like, I wish it was an all-in-one, and I get that like the price point and whatever. Like Zam was telling me, like, I wouldn't really trust it with this price point if it had a trackpad, because the trackpad would probably be kind of bad. But like, I would pay more money for this to be an all-in-one kind of device that I can connect to whatever screen is available, and then I'm good. Because like, the screen is the flexible part. You can connect this to like a mini projector and just project it on whatever wall you have available. Like, there's all sorts of like ways you can make this a really cool and interesting device. The problem is like, you're still carrying around multiple devices, and it's really not that usable without some sort of like mouse input device. So yes, I have to say, like, there are some things that could be improved if I was going to make this myself. Like if I wanted to just make a rugged little Linux keyboard that I can like do whatever with, and just have ready to go and start hacking, because it has an internal wireless card that's Kali Linux compatible, or at least that is the belief. I guess we will see. Then yeah, like I would definitely include a trackpad or something. Like, but again, this isn't the biggest complaint in the world. And also hello to our producer, who has presumably saved the day by giving us power. So, all right, so I'm gonna try to hold this up without disconnecting it. This is my, thank you. This is my Raspberry Pi 400. And you can see it has a lot of stuff plugged into it. It has a giant directional antenna on a wireless network adapter. It has a Andromeda deauthor, and it also has a keyboard, a mouse, and then we're outputting HDMI, and then there's also power. So this is like, it looks a little suspicious, but I could, the first thing I did was set this up to use VNC, so I could basically log into this and control it from my main computer and just like type on it and whatever, and even do like mouse motions on my main computer. So I have sort of like solved the issue with like being able to have like an additional input on this that's flexible, without having to plug in, a mouse dedicated to this and then have like a separate mouse for my other computer. I find that to be kind of annoying. But yeah, again, this is really nitpicky. Like my complaints with this are mostly just like I have to plug in yet another thing, and it doesn't really improve my personal like use case of this. But I'm sure a lot of other people will find this very useful. I find the screen to be like the most optional thing, because there's so many different ways you could add a screen or like whatever. They give you HDMI out plus, well, some sort of like mini or micro HDMI out. But you can add whatever screen you want. Really, it's about the inputs that they're kind of adding something to here. And I would Yeah, I would have loved to see a trackpad. I'm gonna stop complaining about it. I'm sorry. People are probably tired of hearing it now, but like, I just like I have this like weeb ass like gamer mouse like plugged into it, and it just looks so stupid. Like having like this mouse, which all the way, by the way, is also like I had to turn the sensitivity up all the way in order to get it to like not be ridiculously sluggish. So yeah, like that would be nice if this was kind of immediately usable without any other peripherals aside from a screen, because again, you can just VNC into it, but it's not right now. You have to add a mouse if you want to be able to use a graphic user interface. So for operating systems, what would you want to run on this Raspberry Pi 400 if you had it, James?
Not Windows, because it's ARM, and it may be interesting to see if you could get macOS running on this with the new thing.
No.
But I'm saying it would be interesting to see if you could get it running. But obviously, you wouldn't want to run macOS on it. You would want to run some version of Linux.
Wait, there's a thing that would let you run macOS on the Raspberry
No,
Pi?
I just think it would be interesting if there was, because now macOS runs on ARM to some degree. So maybe I don't know. That's like that. I just thought of that because you asked. So I don't know. That could be really funny though if somebody got that working. But yeah, most of the people using this are probably thinking of something like Debian or Ubuntu, and then maybe Debian-based distributions. But if you want something a bit lighter, maybe an Arch-based distribution like Manjaro. But
yeah. So I don't think we're gonna do Manjaro today, but the most popular one is probably going to be Raspberry Pi OS, formerly known as Raspbian. And of course, that is, as the name implies, derived from Debian, and it's specifically meant for the Raspberry Pi, but it definitely does not have a lot of some of the offensive stuff in there that we would want to have on this. So when we talked about our operating systems that are popular with hackers, there were two that really kind of stood out as ones that would be good for beginners or people just getting started with hacking. James, would you agree that Ubuntu and then Kali Linux are probably good starting places for people who are generally getting interested in cybersecurity?
Yeah, easy starting points.
Yeah. And also the community around the Raspberry Pi offerings for both are really, really good. There's a lot of support around Ubuntu on the Raspberry Pi, and there's also a lot of support around Kali Linux on the Raspberry Pi. Now, interestingly, Ubuntu on the Raspberry Pi also offers a 64-bit version, which is really cool and relatively new on the Raspberry Pi, although this is only supported by the newer Raspberry Pis with more memory. So make sure that you don't get the misconception that this is going to work on like your old like generation like 1 or 2 Raspberry Pi. It will not. You need a Raspberry Pi 4, and it needs to have more capacity on it than like the cheapest version. So fortunately, the Raspberry Pi 4 does support this, and I proved this by running a 64-bit version of Ubuntu on it, which is what is currently loaded on it. I also want to see if by the end of the stream we can take one of these SD cards and we can load up Kali Linux on it. So I have no idea what's on it at the moment, but I will destroy it because I don't care. And if we switch over to my screen, we can see that we have for Kali Linux a variety of different offerings that we can use with this, but it's pretty neat that they've already updated this to indicate that there's a 64-bit version of the Raspberry Pi 400 specific Kali Linux ISO. So I think it's really cool that this community is plugged in enough that as soon as a Raspberry Pi version comes out that people might want to use for penetration testing, they immediately update their documentation to let people know this is the correct version to use. So you can see if you're using a Raspberry Pi 0 or 0W, there's a separate image. But if you're using a Raspberry Pi 2, then well, actually no, sorry, it's 2, 3, 4, and 400. It's all going to be lumped in to this one or this one, depending on if you're using a 64-bit or a 32-bit. So I think I've already downloaded the 32-bit version here in a torrent. Let's see. And it is already finished. So you can see that I have a 2.2 gigabyte file that's been downloaded. And then let's see where it went. Yep, here it is. So it really is as simple as that to be able to get started with just downloading an ISO and burning it. I'm going to use Etcher, which is right here. And currently it's set up to want to grab Ubuntu, but I'm going to insert this SD card. And James, This is going to take a while, isn't it?
It may. It depends.
This is a slow, but like just a slow SD card. So I'm
okay.
almost sure this is going to take a while.
Yeah. So if you had something like a USB 3 flash drive, it would go reasonably quickly. I don't know how fast it's going to go on an SD card. Can you boot off? Sorry, suppressing a sneeze. Can you boot off a USB drive on Raspberry Pis yet?
Let's see. Can I off a SD? Wait, I'm sorry. Ask that question again.
I guess no, because I don't know. I don't use Raspberry Pis a lot, so I'm not familiar with the kind of process, to be honest with you.
Yeah, for sure. I actually missed your question because I was typing something in, so I'm kind of mumbling in agreement with you, but I literally didn't hear what you said. What?
Okay, so I was asking if you can boot off a USB drive yet on a Raspberry Pi.
Yeah.
So that would be a faster medium to create, is what I'm saying. But the install would still be slow when you're actually installing it.
Well, okay, so basically you would need to run a different program that directs the Raspberry Pi to boot off of the drive. So there's something called Berry Boot, which is basically like a bootloader, which will, when you plug in a USB drive, recognize it, and you can put as many different operating systems as you want on the USB drive, and it will be like, all right, which one do you want to run? And then you select which one you want, and it'll just run that operating system, which I think is super cool because it gives you more flexibility on which one you're using. By the way, if you guys want us to see if that project's still alive or find something similar to it, then yeah, it's a pretty interesting use of all this stuff. So this is flashing now. It's at 4%. This is going to go for a while. And guess what, you guys? It's going to look absolutely no different at all the whole time it's doing this. So let's go over here. And I have actually already connected my Raspberry Pi. So this is now running. This is already running Ubuntu. I've already worked with it a little bit. So I'm going to type in my very secure password, log in, and we'll get to see what Ubuntu looks like. Oh, and I've been doing some stupid stuff for the test. So I'll just go ahead and exit. But I believe, I don't know, I'm just getting this from context clues that this is Groovy Gorilla. I just feel like that might be the distribution that I'm using.
Groovy Gorilla?
Yeah.
I would agree with that. That seems like a valid name.
Yep. So, there's also two mouses, which is tripping me out because I'm on, okay, cool, there we go. But as you can see, this is a really clean operating system. We've gone through Ubuntu before on the show, but now we're running on the Raspberry Pi 400. So let's kick the tires. Yeah, let's see what we can do. So first up, I haven't added any new repositories or anything. So if I do terminal, I can just see what's available in Ubuntu if I want to get started with hacking. So let's say I want to do some Wi-Fi hacking. Let's do sudo apt install aircrack ng. I imagine it'll probably have this.
Yeah, I think it does.
Yeah, cool. So, all right, we have the ability to do some cracking if we can also do some capturing. So usually this package includes also airmon.ng. So that might give us the ability to actually put this into monitor mode. So I'm going to go ahead and run, so actually, if you run Ifconfig on this, Ubuntu is like, I have never heard of that, and I don't know what you're talking about. And then if you try to install it, it's just like, I don't know what that is either. But if you want to, you can install this package called net-tools. So then if you install net-tools, it actually does know what you're talking about and stops pretending. But the workaround of this is just using the more modern IP space A, but I'm going to use Ifconfig because I'm old school and I like it. So, whoa.
You're typing today, Cody.
I know. There's a little bit of a lag, so it throws me off. So if I do ifconfig, I can see I have a wireless interface here. This is the built-in wireless interface in the Raspberry Pi. Oh wait, no, I'm lying to you. I have an additional one. So WLAN 0 is the built-in one, and then this long one is the one that I plugged in. So I'm gonna unplug this just for now, and then I'm gonna rerun it. Yep, okay, it's gone. So that's great, good news. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can sudo airmon ng start WLAN 0. I'm going to see if I can put the card into monitor mode. Operation not supported. So that is interesting. This might mean that I need to install additional drivers in order to get this working in monitor mode, or it might just mean that this particular wireless card they chose to include isn't compatible with monitor mode, which is a little surprising. So I'm going to plug in this one that I know is compatible with monitor mode, and let's see what we can do. Although it's really hard to plug this in for some reason. There we go.
Good luck.
All right. So I'm going to rerun the commands. Oops. No, not that command. Ifconfig. And we can see here that we've got... Oh, by the way, I named this computer Doodlebug.
Doodlebug?
No, Doodlebug. All right,
Okay.
So...
I thought you were on about my Dougal again, and I was getting concerned.
No, although that's a great website. So if I want to do sudo airmon-ng start, and then we'll just paste this.
The catchy name of the wireless interface.
Right? Yeah, I hate how Ubuntu always just like makes some like super random, very long wireless interface name. Airmon-ng start blah blah blah. Okay, cool. Let's see. Will it do it? Will it do it? Okay. All right. It looks like it did. So it's just like, this name is too long for Linux. I don't like it. It'll be renamed to the old style. And then it goes back to the way that Kali Linux does it. So now if I do ifconfig, we have WLAN 0. Did it just disappear? Where is it?
It's gone.
Okay. So the wireless interface vanished. So maybe it put it down. So if I do IPA, we can see it's there. See, it's WLAN 1mon. So do you see why this is a little bit different from like doing this in Kali Linux? If we were doing this in Kali Linux, the name of everything like makes sense. Like the wireless card comes up. Now I have an extra step I have to do. So if I do sudo ifconfig WLAN 1mon up. If I do ifconfig again. Look at that, James. Magic.
Wow.
It's here.
Very impressive, Cody.
It came out. So we just played hide and seek with our wireless monitor, our wireless network adapter with monitor mode for no friggin' reason, but here we go. So much fun we're having with Ubuntu. Let's go ahead and go to the next step. So let's go ahead and see if we can do a capture. So we'll do, let's see. Do I have like my phone or something that I can just create a network? No. I'll just do sudo airmon ng. No, sorry. We're going to do arrow dump. WLAN 1mon. And then let's do channel 1. Why not, right? So let's see if we see anything. Yeah, okay. We've got all sorts of wireless stuff happening. There's things and stuff, and it's very exciting and great. So if we wanted to capture a handshake here, we could definitely do that. I'm going to press Control-C and clear the screen. All right, so what about more offensive tools? So let's do sudo apt install be, oops. So this is one of the most like malevolent programs I know. It just like basically will attack every single wireless network in range and just go for it unless you specify. So it will basically start doing like things that could be illegal immediately unless you like specify which network it's going after. So this one is surprisingly not included in the default Ubuntu repository. What a shock. What a shock. However, it is relatively easy to get started with something like a Andromeda deauthor here. So I happen to have an Andromeda deauthor. It's plugged in, and if I type in Hunitor, hey James, guess how easy this was to install?
Wow, what did you have to do to install the Hunitor?
Well, I tried to install it, but then when I did so, there were 3 different versions. 2 of them didn't work, and the third forced me to rerun it with an additional command to confirm because apparently the developer had indicated that it was not production ready.
Yes, that is a thing that we had to do.
Yes, so it kind of seems like when I try to install it, the project doesn't want to be run, but I did it anyway, and it works. But yeah, so here we are. I've plugged in the Andromeda deauthor. I can select port 1. Oh, one thing also. Here, watch this. Watch this. So I'm going to do just Hunator. I'm going to select port 0. What's that, James?
What's what?
Couldn't create port object.
Did you run it with sudo? No, you didn't.
No, I didn't. So it seems like I got to run it with sudo, huh?
Yeah, you're having some permission issues.
Okay, so I'm going to press 0, and now we're connected. So if I want, let's do help. Boop. And then I can do demo on.
Hold on, Cody. I have a cat that's trying to break in. I need to run away for a second.
Yeah. So we've activated demo mode, and then I can do a scan. Okay, so what have I done here? I basically plugged in an ESP8266 based microcontroller and gotten it running on the Raspberry Pi 4 so that I can scan all these different networks and optionally attack one. So if I then want to get to the point where I'm deauthing or something, I can also do that very easily. And of course, this is partially thanks to the work of James in getting this program relatively easy to install on the Raspberry Pi 4. So yeah, thank you, James, for getting this working, because now I can see that there's a network that is rickrolling me. So if I want to deauth it, deauth AP, who's doing it? Station number 4. Now I'm attacking this disgusting network that doesn't even belong anywhere near me, and it won't be able to let anyone connect, even though I'm pretty sure that's not the point of it. I'm pretty sure it's just to troll me. So I'm going to stop the command.
But you sure showed them.
I sure showed them. But of course, if this was like your neighbor who was connecting to your Wi-Fi network or something, you could also be kicking them off of your Wi-Fi, if they don't have permission to be there. Or a rogue device that you don't recognize, a weird camera, whatever. So, all right, so we just use the Andromeda deauther, and that seemed to work pretty well. But again, it seemed as though we were having a problem with being able to get the internal card on the Raspberry Pi 400 to go into monitor mode. So I want to go back over here. Oh, it's at 48% flashing. See, this is why I already had something prepared. I told you, James, that this memory card was just awful.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you want to try doing the Cthulhu thing again? We could do some Cthulhu if you don't have anything else.
Oh, yeah, that's not a bad idea. So do you remember how to install that?
If you just look up Cthulhu 3, that's the one I used, and the project looks dead, but it'll work. It's archived.
All right. That,
Sorry. It should just be a GitHub thing that you can clone.
Yeah. Okay.
Are you okay, Cody?
Yeah, no, I'm just this is not a virtual machine, so I can't copy and paste this. I have to now type everything without being able to see the screen.
Oh, yeah.
So that's HTTPS. A whole lot of fun.
Just type good.
I also really like the way that they did their screen name.
Oh yeah, that was fun. Thomas is very upset that I'm not letting him nudge the microphone right now. He's desperate.
Okay, let's see if that works. Fatal, unable to access. Oh, because I made a typo. I hate this. Why did you make me do this?
Because if you want to do something else, please feel free. Yeah. You don't need that. Why do you have a semicolon on the end?
Because it has a semicolon in the end in the instructions.
Get rid of the semicolon.
Yeah, fine.
And put .git instead. Cody, your thing is broken.
What do you mean?
I don't know what you're doing. Hold on. I'm gonna pull up the GitHub on mine.
Yeah, please. GitHub.com/channel/Cthulhu3. Yeah. This is very silly. I know how to git clone something.
No, you don't. Come on.
Oh, shut up. Oh wait, I guess I can just stop being stupid. Do I have... Oh, yeah, I do have internet on this. Okay, so I'm just going to try to open... I'm going to have a lot of fun waiting for Firefox to open on the Raspberry Pi, as I always do.
I mean, this is a great showcase of the... I mean, it's not a completely
Theory.
fair comparison, but yeah. What average use would look like if you were doing this with the... Because, personally, I think the use case for the Raspberry Pi 400 is really weird, because it's sort of like, yeah, it's a desktop computer, but it's not. Really, like it's not really quite fast enough to be 100% useful like that. But then, if you want to use it in sort of the situation where I would use Raspberry Pis for like little projects and server stuff, it doesn't make sense to have like a random keyboard sitting out on your desk as much as it does a little credit card size thing. So
Yeah, agreed.
it feels like it's trying to fill a really weird space, but maybe it's just because I'm not the customer, so I don't understand.
Alright, buddy, if you ask me for my username one more time, I will call the police. Okay, thank you.
What were you doing wrong?
I don't know.
Gosh, Cody.
I'm sure there's like some small difference that I can't see. Alright.
I'm going to blame the screen resolution. Oh, you idiot. You were putting shell, not SH3LL.
Whatever, bro. Mod plus.
Whatever, bro.
Alright. So what do you want me to chmod? Stop selecting that. Oh no, wait. There. Alright. So, reading the instructions, this is supposed to get us all these packages. So fun and cool. Okay, we're in the installer. Alright, cool, I can do that.
Yeah, so after you've cloned it, you go into the repository. Yeah. Install.sh. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then you sudo run it.
Executing. Keyring is deprecated. Good.
Good. And then you should have it installed, so then to run it, in theory, all you need to do is...
Oops. Not misspell it.
Run Cthulhu 3 or something. I'm reading and I don't see how. So I guess try sudo Cthulhu 3.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I just misspelled it.
Yeah, nice.
Cool. Alright, so now we're on our way to getting all these offensive tools that are just too spicy to have included in Ubuntu. So we're making the Raspberry Pi a lot more like Kali Linux already, in less than the time it takes to install Kali Linux onto this very slow SD card. So
weaponized.
Yeah, hell yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and do 0 for view categories. Exploitation tools, wireless attacks. Let's do wireless attacks. Yeah, no. Let's do 28. I want all of these. Go ahead, do it.
All?
Yeah.
Okay.
Could not find package. Okay, lame. What pirate's a good one too? All right. Well, I feel like I've signed up for a lot here. Let's see what am I getting out of this process?
I feel like you did sign up for a little bit.
All right. So we're getting Airgraph NG, Asleep, Blue Log, Blue Ranger, don't care. Bully, yes. Cow Patty, okay. Crackle, Fern, Wi-Fi Cracker. Oh, that's some old school stuff. Host APD, great. Kismet, good. MDK3, that's for jamming. MFOC, okay, great. That's for cards, like card brute forcing. Pixie WPS, Reaver, great. Wi-Fi Honey, Wi-Fi Fisher, Wi-Fi. Oh wow, okay. It's giving us a bunch of like OG tools. Like that's fine. Like, I would have liked to see like Better Cap and some other stuff on there that I'm having like a real annoying time installing. But you know, whatever.
I think isn't BetterCap in the default repository
Of no, it doesn't seem
Ubuntu.
to be. Yeah, I tried installing it. It doesn't know what that is. It's like, oh, you mean EtcherCap, and I was like, no, BetterCap. So yeah, that's a little bit annoying, but it looks like we're already like 75% done with installing like literally all of the wireless tools that they have in Cthulhu. So, you know,
Yeah, and if you look at the URLs that it's downloading from there, you can actually see it's literally just pulling from the Kali repository. So
yep, the Kali rolling repository. So
good
as soon
stuff.
as these are done installing, then we will have a much more kind of offensive focused, but still not supporting internal wireless mode Raspberry Pi. So that kind of bums me out. I wanted to see if I could capture. Let's see. Yeah. Always change the MAC address, always, because I'm paranoid. What is this? Configuring Kismet. Yeah, do that so that I don't get exploited. We'll do my... Okay, so this is so that I'm not giving... so I'm basically not running Kismet as root, because if you do that, then you could potentially sniff a packet that gets interpreted and run as root. So it's dangerous to do that. So you can add other users to the group that are allowed to sniff packets without giving them root access, which is good. So, all right, it's gone ahead and started installing all that stuff. Now, really, like, the competitor here would be, again, something that already has all this stuff already installed. If we wanted to have something like Kali Linux, where the stuff is already installed, but we don't have maybe some of the niceties that Ubuntu offers, then, you know, we can do that. And I believe there may be a paired Security OS distribution for the Raspberry Pi, although I haven't seen it very advertised publicly. And every time I look for it, I can't seem to find a stable version. So, you know, maybe I should hold off on saying that there is something like that. But I'm just saying that this sort of weaponization is not necessary. If you really want to do hacker stuff, there's distributions that allow you to do that. In fact, let me go check on how it's doing. We have one 89% done flashing. Hooray. 90% done. Great. And at this rate,
Nice.
I won't have time to verify it, so hopefully it just works. But, yeah, I think that in general this... Oh, I'm using the wrong mouse. In general, the Raspberry Pi 400 is a good way to get started with running an operating system like this and using it as like your daily driver, if that's what you want to do. Oh, it just installed EtcherCap with that. Oh, right, because I just installed it out of frustration. I was like, that's not stock. But the stuff that it comes pre-installed with is, you know, pretty basic, but it was easy to install Wireshark and some other stuff that if I want to do packet monitoring, then I can do so. You know, Wireshark, why not? So I don't know. I think that Ubuntu is a strong contender for maybe the first OS you can run on this if you want to get a more grown-up experience than Raspberry Pi OS, which is primarily meant for people that are more beginners or just getting started with Linux. I think this is like a very serviceable daily driver Linux operating system that can be relatively easily weaponized to do the same kind of hacker stuff you would do with Kali. Of course, though, we will check out Kali in about 10%. Wow.
However long that is.
Yeah. Yeah, notice I didn't say a time, just a percentage. So here it looks like Wireshark is thinking. And I also might be kind of like reaching the limit of, oh no, never mind. It heard me talking and it decided that it wasn't ready to give it up yet. So if I wanted to do things like, you know, wireless sniffing, then I can do that in Wireshark. Although Wireshark cannot control the wireless card, it can just sniff it. So it also looks like, just looking at the sources, I don't have any active sources where I can actually intercept something. So in order to see those sources, I would need to run this as root. So another interesting thing, macOS is now updated this way as well. If I just start Wireshark and I don't start it as root, then I won't be able to see anything except some of the like dummy captures. So that's actually not useful to me at all. I'm going to go ahead and exit out of it. But as you can see, if I wanted to, I could still capture stuff, and that's cool. All right.
Interesting.
Yeah, so are you done? Yeah, we're done. All right, so we're not going to validate. We're just going to eject this flash card, and then we're going to go ahead and use it. So I'm going to do this. And switching back to the Raspberry Pi screen, which I guess we will lose for a little bit, I'm going to Do I want to let it finish installing? No, it's an unknowable amount of time. So I'm going to press Control C, as sad as that is. It hates it. It hates it. It's like, I won't stop. Okay, cool. So there's a button on this that is kind of like a power button, which is like one of the only cool things that I think the Keyboard Factory brings into it. So if I press function and this, oh my god, it's still trying to install. It's going to hate this. I'm going to have to reinstall Ubuntu. But if I press the power button and function, I believe, let's see, at the same time for a couple seconds, it gives me this. And I can right mouse or right button click and then press to power off. So kind of cool. Like it's been really lame that there's not an. I'm sorry. What?
Cody, you have to finish installing the Kali packages before you sign off.
Kill computer. You die. Everything you do on purpose, and I know that you did this to mess up my stream.
Pull the power. Pull the power.
Oh, I will. I will. If this computer continues to defy me. So I was going to say, it's cool that there's a way to override the stupid computer and power this off so it doesn't hurt its stupid self, like, without just pulling the power and having to, like, completely overwrite the operating system, because Raspberry Pis are very prone to doing this. But let's go ahead. I'm going to, for safety, pull the power for a second. Here. And then I'm going to pop the SIM card.
SIM card?
Or, sorry, the SD card. They're about the same size.
Yeah,
also, I was watching, like, a spy movie where they used an SD card and a SIM card, like, interchangeably. Like, it was, like, an encrypted SIM card with, like, a media file on it. And I was just like, what?
It'd be an interesting hiding place.
It was, like, a long movie, too. All right, so hopefully this will... There we go. Hey, look, a rainbow. So there we go. Oh, no, never mind. Now all this ugly text is here. So Kali Linux is starting up. I just freshly installed this from the torrent that I downloaded, and we're going to now have a... yeah, sure, whatever. Yeah, sure, I don't care. So I'm now going to be able to just see what it looks like to drop in on an operating system that I don't have to weaponize. It is already armed to the teeth, and I'll basically just need to go in and do the stuff I would do on, any Kali installation. I'll need to set up the password, change any default passwords. I'll need to like change the SSH keys. I'll need to do just general maintenance stuff, as well as updating and upgrading the system. So I am interested to see if this is capable of putting the internal card into monitor mode. If not, then that's bad and annoying and makes me upset. Of course, this could just be like a driver issue where we need to install some stuff, but I don't know. I guess we'll see as soon as it starts up. So again, this is a very slow SD card. It's like a 16 gigabyte, super slow, like very low end SD card that I just happen to have lying around. I believe we loaded like a command line version of Kali up on this and used it for like a demonstration like a couple years ago. So we got like the cheapest ones. So if you have a faster SD card, then this will work better. It's like, I know that if the SD card has like colors on it, then it's going to go faster than the ones that are just like black with like a little bit of sketchy text on it. And that's the one that we're running right now.
That said, SD cards generally aren't the fastest media in the world anyway. But
no, they're not. They are not. And Kali is not always the fastest operating system. In fact, I don't even have a mouse yet. But when you're using an SD card that I found on the ground, that's something you can expect. So I believe that the new default creds are Kali. Let's find out. When they changed this and I didn't know, I really embarrassed myself on a couple streams, just like trying to find out real quick like what had happened when it was no longer root tour. So cool, that looks good. It looks like we're logging in. I'm gonna let it do its thing for just a second before I stress it out. Do I have a mouse? Ooh, I even have a mouse. And guess what? The response rate is actually substantially better than Ubuntu. I don't need to go in and jack up the sensitivity because that was annoying. I'm gonna click on terminal. Again, don't want to stress it out. I just want to make it larger. There we go. All right, so I'm gonna make this terminal a little bit bigger. I'm gonna enlarge it, and basically I want to do Ifconfig. First, I just want to see if that older command is still supported. It is, but look at that. James, what do you not see?
Do I not see your other wireless interface?
Right. I don't see it either, and that infuriates me. I'm just sorry. I've been progressively enlarging this with my anger.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. What is going on? Why? So it looks like. So I'm going to do IPA. It has no idea that this card is here. So Kali Linux doesn't seem to even be able to see, by default anyway, the internal wireless card of the Raspberry Pi 400. It like not even to like connect to Wi-Fi. It seems like I wouldn't have
Well
expected that. Yeah, right. So yeah, it doesn't see it. That's really
That's
weird.
helpful.
Yeah,
Maybe
so-
maybe soon.
Oh, I was going to be like sudo apt update. It's like to what? There's no Wi-Fi. So we're going to go ahead and plug in this one that I know is Kali Linux compatible. This is a PAU06. It's a just a 2.4 gigahertz remote wireless network adapter that allows us to also mount a directional antenna. So I'm gonna let's see. Oh, wait, wrong mouse.
It's interesting that it wasn't
There we go.
detected at all, though.
Yep, it can see it now. So I'm going to do ifconfig. There we go. It sees it. So right now, it seems very clear to me that it is not possible to actually use the internal card for anything, which is a bummer, frankly. That kind of bums me out. I really wish that you were able to do that. So kind of an interesting little find there.
Yeah.
Anyway, going straight into it, if I want to do sudo, well, I am root, so let's just do, well,
Are you?
let's see what, I don't know. I forget if Kali failed to authenticate. Well, it kind of implies I'm not. Although I do see that there's wireless cards here, but I don't see any traffic on them. Then again, I'm not really generating any. So let's do that. Let's go ahead and select this card. Capture card cannot be issued on the internet, so you don't have permission to capture on that device. Fine, fine, fine. All right, I guess I'm not root, which is super lame and weird. But if I want to do... Wait, what if I just do Kismet? Is Kismet set up to do that? All right, cool. So it seems like Kismet might not need me to authenticate. If... Oh, I keep using the wrong mouse. All right, I click on this. Open link. Let's see what happens. So again, very, very sadly, I am not running this on the internal card of the Raspberry Pi. I am at this point running it on a secondary card. And if you're, James, are you familiar with Kismet?
No, not at all, pretty much.
Okay, it's a wireless signals intelligence tool that uses wireless cards to give you an idea of what's going on around you. So I'm going to make my username... and then okay, all right, and then we're gonna save this. So what this should do, no, I don't want to do that. I just want to continue. So right now there are no sources. If I click on all devices, or actually sorry, up here there's this little menu, data sources. I can see all the available data sources that I can add to Kismet, and it looks like there aren't really any. So, okay, it looks like for pretty much anything I am going to need to sudo it, especially if I'm using the wireless card. Because usually I would be able to see, like, the various devices. Oh, wait. Wi-Fi. No. Yeah, I would be able to see the various inputs I could do. So I'm going to go ahead and shut this down, and then I'm going to run it again by sudoing it. And that should give... The one difference I know between Kismet and Wireshark is sudo Kismet is that once you select a device as a input, it should be able to control it. So you can start like deciding what you want it to do, and that makes it, I think, a little bit more useful than Wireshark in some ways when it comes to controlling the wireless card. All right, so I'm going to go back to localhost. I'm kind of like pushing what this can do, but let's see. It wants me to do it again? Okay, whatever. Whoa. All right, so now that I have this set up, it should give me the ability, hopefully, to go to data sources. Is there anything there? Yes. Ugh. I was going to be so annoying. So now we have available interfaces. So we have Linux Bluetooth. Hey,
Ooh.
let's enable the source. I actually didn't even think of this. So maybe this is actually capable of being able to see Bluetooth devices, even if it's not capable of seeing Wi-Fi, or like maybe it's able. I don't know, buddy. Like, I don't see anything. It's not. If it is doing that, it's not seeing anything. All right. So
Can I not see your external card?
no, it can. So I'm going to go ahead then and I just got excited because I thought that maybe the internal card was like useful for something. But
Oh.
all right, let me try to make this a little bit bigger. So this is just a browser. All right, so we're going to go ahead and I'm going to select the available interface, WLAN 0, and I'm going to click on Enable Source.
Ooh.
And currently, we're not connected to a wireless network, but I don't think it matters. So it's going to start in the background, scrolling a bunch of stuff. Here, whoa. Okay, I don't care about that. If I just double click this, will it? No. Okay, boom. All right, so now we have all this. I'm going to close out of this data source thing. Right here, I can just move it. And if I want, I can also click on this to see alerts. So, oh yeah, it doesn't like that it's running as root. So now I have a bunch of information about nearby wireless networks. I can use this as a signals intelligence platform to learn about any of these individual clients, which networks they've connected to in the past, which networks they're currently connected to, how much data they're exchanging. All this stuff is super interesting and useful. And I can click on any of these to learn more about them. This will give me information about the amount of traffic that this person has exchanged, what their role is. In this case, it's a Wi-Fi client, so it's a device connected to a network or looking for a network to connect. I can also see that this is a Vivitech Inc. device. So that gives me more information about like what kinds of activities this device might be doing on a network, because it lets me know who makes it. So I can also, if I go down a little further, I can even take a look at which networks it's connected to in the past. And if it's joined different networks while I've been monitoring it, that information will be here. So really, really cool program. Looks like it works pretty well with an external wireless card, but it looks like it also does not work with the internal card for Bluetooth or for Wi-Fi. Again, I haven't updated Kali Linux. This is just plugging it in immediately from the version that's offered up on the website. But it is safe to say that, yeah, it looks like it is not actually supported. So kind of a bummer, because I was hoping to be able to use Kali on this just using the internal card. That's really one of the things that I like about being able to do this on a Raspberry Pi 3 or 4.
I think if you give it time, that'll probably happen. But on a normal RPi 4, this works?
Yep. On a Raspberry Pi 4, this
That's
works.
interesting.
Yeah, so, I mean, don't quote me on that, but I have definitely used a Raspberry Pi 4 before to do Wi-Fi hacking stuff, although you might need to install a driver. So you may need to install a driver for this to work, and then it may work just fine. But out of the box, it doesn't seem like you can just plug in, the card and expect the Raspberry Pi 400 to do hacking stuff. Sad. And again, we were not able to put this into monitor mode in Ubuntu either, even though we were able to get it to see the card and use the card to connect to Wi-Fi networks. Again, in Kali Linux, we cannot even get a Wi-Fi connection with this. Now, of course, it has a, it has an Ethernet port, so that's really useful. So we can just plug it into Ethernet if we have that available. But I feel like a lot of people would be disappointed if they plugged in Kali Linux and then, it just doesn't work. So if they don't have a way of updating Kali Linux so it does work, then they might be kind of in a situation where they can't update it to get the driver, and like, I don't really know what they would do. So
in time, I think it's because especially if this sort of thing works on the RPi 4, then I think in time this will become easier.
Yeah, so just to go over, the internal card on the Raspberry Pi 400 for hacking no good. It's not going to work. This doesn't work. At least right now on Kali Linux and on Ubuntu. The Andromeda deauthor. Can you plug this in and get it started relatively easily? Yes, this works. You do have to maybe run an extra command in order to install it versus the way that it tells you to on the GitHub, but that's okay. It still works just fine, and you can install it really easily. External wireless network adapter that's Kali Linux compatible. Yes, you can absolutely use this. And in fact, you might want to seriously consider getting this as an accessory if you are going to be using the Raspberry Pi 400, because right now you're not going to be using the internal card for hacking. So something like the PAU 06 or
Catchy.
I'm sorry?
Catchy name.
Oh yeah, right. The Panda Wireless, but really we prefer Alpha Wireless. So if you have like a good Alpha Wireless card also that's Kali Linux compatible, you might want to stick that into the back of this because it would be a better way of getting started with hacking than using this as a standalone. I have to say, I'm a little disappointed by that. It really kind of feels like the last insult after not getting the trackpad and the complaints I had with that. But it is a Linux system that will get up and running. You can still do a lot of stuff with it. And again, if you're doing like Ethernet hacking stuff, you can get started with that without any additional hardware. The thing you can't do is Wi-Fi hacking, which is what I do. So I feel a little personally excluded. But who knows if I'm just not installing the correct version of Kali Linux. Maybe I should install the 64-bit version of Kali Linux and see if that works. Like, I don't know, but we'll see. So,
I mean,
all right.
Sorry.
No, after you.
Okay, so the one thing to go on about this is that you were saying, yes, Wi-Fi hacking, but the thing that this is really good for, as kind of all the Raspberry Pis are, is that, especially in cybersecurity, Linux skills in general are very helpful, and this can help you develop those. So
yeah,
I feel
over
like
the
that's
course
a
of
good
this,
point.
yeah, over the course on this stream, we were able to get Kali Linux running on like a trash SD card. So not only were we able to explore Ubuntu, we were able to explore 2 different operating systems on this new Raspberry Pi on the same stream and just show you guys what you can do just getting started with them. I feel like we got a lot done. So if you're considering getting a Raspberry Pi 400, we're definitely not saying don't get one. We were able to breeze through this, and I think that it's a nicer form factor than a traditional Raspberry Pi, because if I'm throwing this in my bag, I'm not worrying about like some random thing like chipping off like part of it and like breaking something like a capacitor falling off or whatever. This is encased in a very nice way. It's thin, it's clean, and provided I have a way of dealing with the screen issue, then I think this is great because I can just VNC into it from my MacBook or whatever else I have, and I have a Kali Linux system that I can, in my opinion, be a lot more free with than a virtual machine that I have to like plug a bunch of stuff, So I think that this is a cool project. There's definitely use cases for it. Do I think this is like the best way to hack or like get started with hacking on a Raspberry Pi? No, I don't. I like the Raspberry Pi 3 or the Raspberry Pi 4 are both probably a better fit if you're looking for an internal wireless card that's compatible, basically an all-in-one solution for doing Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and whatever other kind of hacking you want to get started with. Over a Raspberry Pi 4, you're not going to get a performance increase from this anyway. So, I would probably still recommend the Raspberry Pi 4 or the Raspberry Pi 3 for getting started with just hacking in general, including Wi-Fi and Bluetooth hacking over this at the moment. But if Wi-Fi and Bluetooth support is added, then I think that this could be a really good contender just because of how easy it is to carry around with you and use.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. All right, well, James, thank you for this. I know this strays pretty far away from Hat Talk, but thank you for coming with us on this, I guess, like setup / almost unboxing-ish video on this Raspberry Pi 400. I'm glad I got it. I think I'm going to be using this for a number of different projects, even though it doesn't have a trackpad.
Even though it doesn't have a trackpad, you're very upset about that.
Why do I need this mouse plugged into this? It's ridiculous. Like, I would just, even if it had that little trackpad nub that the ThinkPads have to like move around and like click on stuff, like
don't insult the nipple.
I'm sorry, James. It's called a nub. It's not a nipple.
It's a nipple.
All right, so that's all we have for this show. James, thank you so much for joining us and discussing the ThinkPad's nub. And hopefully we have you back on another time, nub.
Listen,
and
we can have an argument, a structured argument about this in the chat later. But trust me, it's definitely a nipple.
Okay, all right. We have to go, you guys. Thank you so much to James for joining us. If you want to check out some other great, maybe perhaps cleaner Verona's content, you can check out the brand account where our
Get your
sometimes
mind
host-
out of the gutter.
Oh my god. Where our sometimes host Killian hosts the threat update. We also have Mike with his new show on Mondays that goes over the study guide to getting a CISSP certification. So if you want to check those out, they are some other really great content we're producing here at Varonis. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks for sticking around, and yeah, bye.
Bye.